Let's see what insights resident scholar and sociologist Karl Stefanovic has to contribute to this conversation. I'm sure he has some very astute observations and that the rest of us lay people would never have thought to have thunk. Thank you, Karl. Please regale us with your insights. Continue.
Morning with new reaction to those nationwide anti-immigration protests we saw over the weekend, which saw two groups in Melbourne go head-to-head in a heated clash. And this morning, breaking news in Sydney, two people charged for attacking an officer at a pub following the march.
We have reporters in both cities. First to Jack Hahn, who is in Sydney for us. Jack, run us through what happened.
Yeah, good morning to you. So, look, police say that yesterday afternoon they were called to this pub here on Broadway because, according to 000 callers, there were some people in the pub yelling and screaming offensive things to people on the street. So the officers came around, they tried having a chat with these people. A brawl allegedly breaks out. That's when an officer is assaulted. They return fire with pepper spray. Two suspects allegedly running away on foot, but they did not make it far. And this morning, a 29-year-old and 48-year-old have been formally charged with a fray, along with assaulting and resisting a police officer. Meantime, nearby in Redfern, a separate incident taking place, fists flying on a Sydney train. Check out.
Yeah, but isn't that just Redfern on any day of the week, really? I mean, let's be fair.
This Vision exclusive, we can show it to you here on Today in 9 News. You see that there's a heated exchange between a person on the platform and someone on the train. Take note, the person on the platform is wearing an Australian flag, and then fists start flying. Sydney train staff tried closing the doors to bring an end to the chaos, and by the time the police arrived there, the train took off along with the person on the platform. Now, we don't know where exactly that man came from, but according to authorities, the two people arrested here in Broadway did indeed attend the anti-immigration protests. Carl.
Jack, thank you. Let's bring in Christina Hearn on Spring Street in Melbourne, where violent clashes also broke out. Chris, police were forced to deploy rubber bullets.
Rubber bullets, capsicum sprays, stun grenades, police forced to deploy it all. Their resources here were already stretched because hundreds of officers have been deployed to the high country to look for alleged police shooter Desi Freeman, and they really struggled to keep the anti-immigration protesters and the pro-Palestinian protesters apart, with scuffles breaking out right across the CBD over several hours. Here on Spring Street, known neo-Nazi Thomas Sewell addressed the anti-immigration protesters, while in Adelaide, this man held up a placard of the alleged high country gunman with the words "Free Man." Now, 6 people have been arrested here in Melbourne, 2 police officers injured after having bottles thrown at them, and police say more people could be arrested.
What a bunch of weirdos. How is this bloke any type of folk hero? Like, bizarre people. And to make like a maritime flag your fucking flag is that's just so weird. Stop being weird. At least make a cool flag, you fucking losers.
As they comb through all the vision. Carl.
Chris, thank you. Welcome back to the show. Great to have your company on this Monday morning. Well, seeds of division are being sown across Australia.
Oh, we're back in we're back in the gay clubs in Oxford Street. They always play this music. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Yep. Over the weekend, thousands turning out for anti-immigration rallies. The highlights saw brawls break out between
I just took some amyl and peeingers and I'm on the dance floor.
Flags, symbolic of Australia's sovereign citizen movement. Free cop killer Desi Freeman. How disgusting. Amongst the many peacefully protesting and having their say also,
Karl Stefanovic isn't hot enough to get into any of the gay clubs on Oxford Street, Delta, so it's fine. You have to be hot. They have bouncers. They have bouncers that judge you on your hotness. You can't just, like, certain clubs in Sydney you can't just... Yeah, certain clubs in Sydney you can't just walk into. You have to be, like, cute enough. There's certain clubs where, like, they're very exclusive. Not all of them, but some of them. At least the ones I have gone to.
Nazis freely spreading their...
You're cute, you can get it easy. Well, I don't know. You have to try your luck, I guess.
But we're here because anti-immigration is our key political issue.
Are you racist?
Yeah, we're racist. Yeah, we're racist.
So you're proud to be, you said, are you racist?
Yes.
I mean, those Nazis take attention off the fact that there is according to polls, widespread feeling, at least majority position, that immigration for the last couple of years has been too high. There was a big explosion post-COVID. We actually haven't grown as a country more than we would have had COVID not occurred, but there was a quick catch-up which caused some tension. Nazis have no interest in the end goal of changing government policy. They're actually just attention seekers.
Yep, and
they'll continue to kill their cause.
And they get it, and it's amplified. It's amplified on all of our news as well. Look, Jamie, immigration, Jackie, is front and centre. So like I said, there's a rational debate here to be had. and one this country probably needs to have pretty quickly. There's no question many Australians think it's placing far too much pressure on things like housing.
Look, it's not just your housing, and then I say to you, well, are you going to go and have 6 or 7 kids? Because otherwise, I don't know who's going to look after you in aged care. Do you know what I mean? So we do have a problem. There are many work sectors or workplaces.
Well, then make IVF covered by Medicare. I had to get my eggs frozen, right? Because I had to have chemo. I had to have chemotherapy treatment for my lupus. So I had to get my eggs frozen because it can affect your fertility. And even with Medicare, it still cost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It was so expensive. And the medications are insanely expensive. And it's like, well, if you want women to have children with the price of housing, how are women supposed to have children in their 20s or their early 30s if they can't afford a house until they're like 45? What are you going to do? Fucking make IVF, make egg freezing be covered by Medicare, because I had to get my eggs frozen a few years ago and it was so fucking expensive. So fucking expensive. And also I ended up with this thing called hyper-ovarian stimulation or something, and you could die from it. So of course I got it, and the nurse kept on calling me, and because she saw my blood test results, because you have to go get like blood test results so they know like when to send you in for the surgery to harvest your eggs. And she was like, are you okay? Do you feel like tired? Do you feel sore? Yada yada yada. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like that every day. And she was like, okay, well, do you feel like you need to go into hospital? And I was like, I don't know, I feel the same as I always do. And she was like, well, you probably should go into hospital. And I was like, nah, I'm good. But yeah, that's the thing that can happen too. It's just fucked up. It's just fucked up and it's stupid and it should be free. That's my rant. Poo-poo platter.
Where we just don't have the people that are qualified to be in there, and there is where another problem lays in itself.
Yeah.
You know, so it looks it's all over. But the bottom line is, if you're going to allow people to live in this country, then make sure they have the same values that the rest of us have. And as for the neo-Nazis, if they don't like it here, then pack up your bags and go somewhere else. But stop making asses of it.
Isn't IVF really expensive though? Yeah, it is really expensive. It's like $10,000 a round, and even if you get Medicare, you only get $5,000 back, and most women need to have like a few rounds. So usually you're looking at like $30,000-$40,000 for IVF. Luckily for me, I have lots of eggs. Apparently I am the prize hen at the farm because I got like 30 eggs and like 27 of them were viable. And most women only get 9 eggs and like three eggs are viable. So apparently I'm the fucking prize hen. She was like, the nurse rang me after they did my surgery, because they ring you the day of your surgery to like tell you how many eggs they got and how many of them were viable, because they can only freeze the ones that are really good quality. And she was like, well, I don't think the gynecologist is gonna call you back, because she's like, yeah, that was a really good result. And I was like, yeah, cool. Just all you have to do is almost die and you get heaps of eggs. Amazing. Amazing. Slay egg queen. I am the egg queen. I am the egg queen. I am the prize chook. I could make the prices of eggs very cheap in Australia with my own production. Let me tell you. I'm just laying eggs. Just laying eggs over here. Chooky, chooky, chooky.
For yourself, you are not helpful.
Where do they go now?
I don't care. They can take a swim for all I care, mate.
Paul.
Annika, I'm not sure whether you saw that image. I think it was in Adelaide, where it was Desi Freeman's picture was held up, right? He is obviously the wanted fugitive at the moment, accused of gunning down 2 police officers. That is alarming. Are you worried that these kinds of movements are actually gaining strength in parts of Australia?
I certainly am, and you would have seen NRL, who's one of our experts and federal ministers, speak to that across the past few days. And as Minister for Communications, my concern is how we stop this from spreading online. I think everybody in Australia has experienced an uptick in seeing this kind of behaviour because people are able to organise online. And part of what drives us as the Albanese government and our mission to make online spaces safer, particularly for Australian kids, is the prevalence of this kind of thing and doing what we can where we can.
One of the key challenges that you face as government is, of course, that they are finding a legitimate cause of grievance in this country, right, and hijacking it. So we're talking about an issue like how...
What the fuck is going on in Australia? Well, Salat Wurzel. I don't know. Apparently we have a fuckwit problem. Apparently we have a massive racist fuckwit problem.
Which is a legitimate concern for so many Australians. But it's because you lot haven't built enough houses. Both parties, not just the Labor Party in government now, the previous government as well. It feels hopeless for so many out there.
Well, Sarah, I would not for 1 second give any credence to the grievances of these people as legitimate.
The point is they're finding a legitimate, as you know, a legitimate issue in Australia and they're hijacking it. That's the concern here because you're not facing it.
Mostly sovereign citizens base themselves off a conspiracy theory and then it grows from there, and being able to navigate and organise online where previously...
So is there a housing concern?
Of course, Sarah, I think we're conflating two different issues here, and I'm at pains not to do that. Of course, the Albanese government, you would have seen all last week in Parliament, we were doing more, announcing our new 5% deposit scheme to get first home owned buyers into home ownership more quickly, you know, reducing the 20% down to 5% so that people can actually consider this to be a realistic goal. Minister Claire O'Neill has full shoulders to the wheel trying to get as much done as we can at a federal level and working with our state counterparts. It's absolutely a problem. Housing affordability is absolutely something that comes up across the board. Let's not conflate that with this very separate, serious issue.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you have a 5% deposit, you have to pay interest on 95% of the cost of the house, making the house way more expensive than if you paid a 20% deposit. And also more people in the housing market means higher prices. It isn't what? What isn't? Isn't that how maths works? Because you don't pay interest on your deposit, you pay interest on the money that you borrow. And interest is a fuckload of money. It essentially doubles the amount that you pay depending on the interest rate. Germany also has more people simping for the mustache man compared to like 10 years ago. Yeah, it's very scary times. But they say that history repeats itself. So, I mean, guess that's what we are seeing. Albanese on anti-immigration rallies, anti-Semitism, and Nauru deportation. The 5% scheme rolling out as a small portion of first-home buyers in the 350 to 450 flat market. Yeah, I can't say what income bracket these people are in and what they're going to be able to afford, but yeah. I mean, if I do buy a property, I'm definitely going to be in the flat market, not in the house market, because there's just no way. There's just no way. Unless you have like 2 people on like 300k, unless you're a couple that have like 300k between you, if you're just a person on a normal wage, there's no fucking way that is ever happening.
The massive rallies this weekend and a big debate about what they mean. The Prime Minister is my guest this afternoon. Prime Minister, welcome.
Good afternoon.
By the way, you're seeing your dad this weekend. Yeah, ask him if he wants a hot young goth girlfriend who's only interested in him for his housing book portfolio.
No, Patricia.
Do you think there were good people with legitimate concerns at these anti-immigration rallies this weekend?
Of course, there's always good people who will turn up to demonstrate their views about particular issues. But what we have here is neo-Nazis being given a platform. That's what we saw on the weekend, and the tone, of course, of much of the rallies was unfortunate as the best way.
It was indeed a crazy weekend, Supreme Leader Beetle. Welcome, Supreme Leader, I guess.
Way that you could put it, but hateful in some of the extreme examples. And the idea that an open neo-Nazi was able to give a speech from the steps of the Victorian Parliament is something that isn't the Australian way.
Liberal frontbencher Jacinta Napigipa-Price said she wants to congratulate the marchers and that the vast majority were people who love this country. Is that how you saw it?
Well, I did see her comments, and they don't reflect what my view of these rallies were. We need to cherish who we are and social cohesion. And as public office holders, we have an important role to play in promoting unity, national unity. And modern Australia is different, as I said in question time today, from the days of the White Australia policy. We're a modern nation that has benefited from our multiculturalism, that overwhelmingly people live in harmony of different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds, and we're enriched by the diversity in this country. We need to show respect for each other, and there will always be people who seek to say, look, your lot in life could be better, and it's because of people who don't look like you. Now, a whole range of people, it's legitimate, of course, to have a debate.
So you think it is based on economic grievance, that the numbers we saw, the vast majority of people who turned up?
Well, it's a lot easier to get people to hate a certain group if your goal is like to create like racial hate towards a certain group, and you know, the cost of living crisis at the moment, the fact that like 2 or 3 generations of Australians are never going to be able to own their own homes, and you can point to a group of people and scapegoat them, like that's a very effective propaganda tool to have at your disposal, right? It's a very effective propaganda tool to use.
They weren't big numbers in the scheme of things in a nation of almost 27 million people, let's be clear here.
So you do think this is a tiny proportion of the Australian population, well, this anti-immigration sentiment?
That shows that was the case, and there's always been an element of people who would appeal to any immigration as a platform, but migration has of course brought a great deal of benefit to our nation, with the exception of First Nations people, where all either migrants or the descendants of migrants. This is an interview between someone called Carvelis and someone called Albanese, not Smith and Jones, or let alone First Nations names. And so we have in this country 3 great traditions. Of course, First Nations people, the great privilege we have. We have then the arrival of the British colony and what they brought, the Westminster system, a whole lot of those British-based traditions. And then throughout our history as well, we've had waves of migrants coming, enriching our nation through their contribution to Australia.
Do you think there's growing resentment towards migration, and does it worry you?
No, I think that there has always been elements. I ran for President of Sydney in the SRC against someone called James Salim, a leader of National Action, on anti-Asians being kept out.
It's always been with us, but is it rising again? Does that worry you?
Well, what we need to do is to be vigilant about it. What has occurred now is that it's much easier to organise through social media, through platforms, and easier as well for people.
Yeah, these echo chambers that people find themselves in, these like people find like-minded people on the internet, then they only talk to these people, they lose sight of reality, they stop talking to people that disagree with them even slightly, and then these people just radicalize each other, and that's how you end up with these insane Fruit Loops. Because it used to be, if you were a crazy person, it used to be so hard to find other crazy people for you to hang out, and now you just go www.crazypeopleforum.com and off you go, you know? What's your particular brand of fuckwit? And you find the other fuckwits.
To have their views reinforced, often of which are based upon things which aren't just fact, like our net overseas migration is falling. It fell substantially in 2024. Of course there were going to be an increased number after the lockdown of our entire continent that occurred during COVID.
So is your message to these people, we're getting the numbers down?
Well, we are getting the numbers down, but migration also is important, and multiculturalism is a part of who we are as a modern nation. And I just say to people, and I have no doubt that there would have been good people who went along, heard about a rally, concerned,
I've seen them talk about long housing queues for rentals. They're concerned about their access to housing.
Of course, but you should have a look at who you're with on Sunday, I think, and the motivation that they have, which isn't actually about housing or our economy or anything else. It's about sowing division. And neo-Nazis have, no role. The fact that people are openly
What did you think of what they did at Camp Sovereignty in Melbourne, where they went and destroyed that?
Well, it's just exactly, here you have people who are saying they're against migration. Well, the first Australians were here before any migrant or descendant of migrants, And that just has no place. That sort of violence has no place.
Let me ask you about this. Yesterday, Julian Lisa told my colleague he stood by his statement that there was a direct line between your government's UN voting record and the attacks we've seen, the arson attack on the Adass Israel synagogue. Now,
oh, fuck off. Fuck off. People are pissed off at people that are dual Israeli citizens because they are seeing kids being murdered. It has nothing to do with anything else. Fucking shut up. Shut your stupid poo-poo platter mouth. I have to be so careful about what I say on the internet. It's hard out here for a little loudmouth. It's hard out here. Anyway, I don't want to hear that. Goodbye. Goodbye. Recognizing Palestine as a state is... Voting to recognize Palestine as a state is the least we should fucking do. Does it seem like they aren't acknowledging ingredient the rise of the far right groups, or they just don't want to tackle the problem head on? I mean, I'm sure they are probably working incredibly hard behind the scenes to work out what to do about it. Especially like the internet aspect is kind of a novel thing, and so they probably are working with, you know, the AFP and the other various agencies involved to try and tackle. They're probably working on the legislation and it's still in progress, so that's probably why they aren't really talking about it. But given like how bad it's getting, especially with these sovereign citizen cunts and all the rest of these things, how dangerous some of these people are, I think, and how violent our society is becoming because of the social cohesion. You didn't mean the ingredient part? Oh, okay, I was like kind of trying to work out what you meant, but yeah. Definitely sovereign citizens since they're killing cops. Yeah, so I think they are definitely probably working on it, probably drafting legislation, probably liaising with all the law enforcement agencies and the intelligence services. This is just like, this is just how policy works, right? They can't come out and say anything until they have some concrete research, they have some concrete numbers, they've done the modeling on the policy to see how it might roll out when it's implemented. All of these things take months and months and months and months of research and months and months and months of writing policy is not easy. It's an incredibly like multifaceted discipline. Yeah. So I don't doubt for a second that given how serious this is getting, there's violence on our streets, and this is like, you know, not usual for Australia. There's been, you know, policemen killed in 2 incidences involving like far right weirdos. So I just don't see that it's not really feasible to me that the government is doing nothing. We just don't know what they're doing, and they won't let us know until they have a grant, something probably ready to try and pass through the Houses of Parliament. Whatever their attack is going to be, we just won't know until they've got it ready to go. What kind of policy could hamper this? What kind of policy could hamper the far right movement? Do you mean? Russian, why are they in such a hurry? You're funny, Supreme Leader Beetle. Are you a dad? Because that's a dad joke. Are you a DILF? Let me know if you're a DILF and you have an extensive property portfolio, because you and Delta's dad can fight for me. Yeah, the radicalization. Well, I'm not privy to all of the data points, obviously. Look, it's very, very almost a certainty that there are, you know, intelligence assets and federal police officers in all of these Telegram groups, in all of these online movements that go to these meetings in person, that have infiltrated these things, and they'll have the information. That will be a very big data point. And then, you know, the other things that we'll look at is what demographics are being radicalized, how they're being radicalized, the type of tactics, the type of rhetoric that they're using. All of these things will be factors that policymakers will look at. You know, there'll be a multidisciplinary team of experts, people that are experts in like deprogramming, people that are experts in, you know, radicalization, people that are experts in, you know, far right propaganda, people that are blah, 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 blah. And they'll all get together and they'll use all the data points, which I don't have, they have. They'll use all those data points to write a policy, come up with a cohesive policy. They'll do a policy analysis, see what the likely scenarios are of how this would play out, how the policy would work in practice, and then that's typically how it would go. So I don't know. I do have a social policy master's, however I don't I was more, you know, the welfare side, the social work side of things, because that's, you know, that's my wheelhouse. This isn't like really stuff that I'm super familiar with, even though like I am familiar with, you know, how to write policy, how to research policy. It's not something like that I could say with any certainty, but that would essentially be what the process would be. So yeah, they would work with with a multidisciplinary team of experts to like determine all the different variables, and they would use all the data points that they've gathered thus far. Case studies and the likes of like people that have been radicalized, because they would have all that information.